Well, here's our horse. I've gone ahead and carved this one ear. I'll show you how I did that on this ear over here. Uh, as you can see, it's starting to look pretty good, like a horse, which is what we want. So what we want to do now is to start putting some facial details on it. Now, one of the main things that shows up on a horse is this little spot right here. This is called the facial crest, or the zygomatic. Sounds like something you'd find in the kitchen, but that's what it's called. Here it is on this drawing, right there. And there it is in real life, right there. You can see that it shows up here, there especially. It's sort of a defining thing on a horse's face. You could get by without putting it on there, but I always like to try to put it on there. On this one here, you can see that I indicated it just a little bit right there. So that's what I'm going to do right now. It's stronger on the bottom than on the top, so I'm just going to take my knife and right there where it is, just kind of curve that in there and spin my knife out and then even that out. I hope I'm not moving this thing in and out. Alright, I've done that there. Now I'm going to do it here on the top. Just about like that. And then right there. Carve off the pencil lines. And there it is. That's plenty. Just so you have that little shadow there. That's important. Okay? Maybe even out this eye socket a little bit better. There. Okay. Now on your ears up here. Now this ear here is the most fragile ear because the grain is running straight up and down through here. So you have to be real careful when you get out here on the point. Make sure you always support that ear as you're whittling on it. Okay? A little dirt there. So let's do the other ear now. We want to get as much separation on them as we possibly can. So I'll start that one first. Okay. Okay, sorry for the pause there. Just got chewed out by my director. Anyway, I'll try to keep this thing to where you can focus on it. I know you guys have sent me emails saying you hold that thing steady, but I'm just too used to bringing it out and bringing it back, bringing it out and looking at it. So I'll try, that's all I can say. When you're doing these ears, try not to have them just come up and go down like that. See, I've created a little rhythm in here on that ear. It's not a straight line, it's graceful. Looks much more graceful. It's just makes it look more attractive. All right? Moving slowly. Okay, I'm going to do this part right back here. This ear is not so fragile, although out here on the point, it's still fragile. We're going to solve that problem here in just a minute. Now from the side angle, what I like to do is I like to get it to where it goes up and curves. To do that, just take a little out here, and take a little out up here. There, see, that looks so much better. Okay? Now this ear looks a little longer than this one down here, so let's see if we can make this one a little longer. Just like that. And this ear's a little fat right in there, so I'm going to take that down a little. Which will also make it longer. Again, make sure you support this ear. There, see, now we've got all these graceful curves. Don't that look great? It just looks so much nicer than just having it stick straight up. Even on the real horse, you can see some of the graceful shapes. Trying to find some. Kind of hard to see in these photographs over here, but it just looks better. All right, so now let's go ahead and carve the notch in here. And what the ideal thing here is to try to get that thing out of there in one pass. All right, so I'm going to start about right up here, go in deeper as I go down. Like that, stop there at the top of the head, and then come in and do the same thing following the shape of my ear. And then go in and take it out. Oops, almost got it. Not quite though. Hanging up in there somewhere. There it was. I'll go back in there and clean that up. Boing. See, this is where, you know, each time you go back, you leave a little back more behind than you want to. That looks good. Those little cut marks back in there, those will close up once we wet it. Okay, now, this is fragile. All right, so I'm going to solve that right now. This is the real thin super glue. I get this at Hobby Lobby. You have to kind of search around for it because I think they've got it in this section where you think that it's not supposed to be, but it's there. I think it's over in the model area. I think, but don't quote me. This is accelerator. This sets this stuff off right away. Okay? Now, if you're like me, you'll use a lot of this stuff because I use it to strengthen wood. So I'm going to take that lid off, and on this ear here, what I'm going to do is just saturate this ear with this thin super glue, especially out there on the end. See how it just soaks right into the end grain there? What this is going to do is it's going to turn that ear into one solid form with no grain. And I'll come back here and get that whole ear saturated. And then I'll do the same thing here. See, it just soaks right in there. You don't want your super glue to pool on there. You want it to soak in. So don't put any more on it than it'll take. See there, it's starting to pool right there, so I'm going to just wipe that off. And then take your accelerator, and it doesn't take much, just a little squirt, that's plenty, and that'll set that off. See, it's dry now. And now I don't have to worry so much about that breaking. The only thing you have to remember in doing this is when you paint it, these areas will no longer absorb paint like these areas back here. But that's not something I'm really concerned about, because I'm going to put a good solid heavy coat of paint on this guy when I paint him, okay? Alright. So now let's go ahead and do his nostrils. I've got my nostril plane already whittled out there. So what I'm going to do is just draw a large circle like that. Leave a border around it. Do the same thing over here on this side. I want to get them as even as possible. Looks pretty good. And I'm going to use just a small gouge here. This is pretty small one. And remember that your grain is going down here like this, so you'll want to come in from the top and do it from the top as much as possible. You might have to come up from the bottom, but start at the top. And just on your pencil line, just go in and take a scoop out. And stay on that pencil line. Just like that. Doesn't have to be a lot. Just so it's an indication. See that shadow right there? That's what we're after. See on that horse? It's the shadow that makes the thing look like it looks like it's a hole there. So now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Again, just use that circle as your guide. There, it kind of split off on me. No two sides of a carving are ever alike. I guess it's that way just to make you work harder at it. Now I have to fix that right there. Now, knowing how it's going to split, I can come around there. There we go. See there? Looks pretty good. All right. Now it's time for the eye. So we've got our eye bump up here. I'm going to carve that down just a little. Soften it up. And braise it up a little. Oh, that's much better. Oh, and one thing. Doesn't show up so much there. I'm trying to find it. Right where the jaw here comes up around, comes up here, and then there's kind of a little indentation right There. Well, we're going to do that right here. We're going to bring this jaw up like this, and then we're going to curve it in and get that little indentation right there, okay? And we're going to do it on the same side over here. Just like that. Just carve the knife in there. Doesn't take much. There, see how much better that makes that horse head look? And then we're going to do the same thing on this side. Looks good. Okay, now for the eye. The eyes are basically done the same way as you would do them on a wood carving. First we draw the eye socket. Like that. And because we have the hair group down over this side, we don't have to worry about that. Okay? Now, a horse's eye, it's just like any other mammal's eye. It's basically the same thing. Carve away my pencil line there. Let's see what I'm doing. Looks good. And just like on our caricature carvings of humans, we're going to just outline that eye socket. Things a little strong. Still a little strong there. Okay, now I'm going to carve this all off. do it over again so you can see that eye a little bit more. There. Now let's start over with the eye. There, that looks much better. So I'm going to start back here. And just like our caricature carving, we go up for that. And we do the lower one. Now we can soften it up a little. And we can even do That's good. Now I'm going to take my little gouge here, and right there at the junction of the eye, I'm going to just take a little out right there. Again, we're dealing in shadows. Now we can do that again right here, and we can do that again right here. Now that's a pretty good looking horse face right there. And we'll go over here and we'll do the same thing. And again, this side's not going to behave like that other side, so. I'm going to stop right there. Okay, I'm going to soften up this edge here, not very much, just a little bit. About like that. Soften up this edge, like that. And emphasize the nostril there with just a little bit of tip. Like that. Same thing over here. Like that. And that's looking pretty good. All right, now back underneath here, just divide that in the center. I'm going to come down and carve that right up to his neck. and just kind of divide those two halves. Like that. Doesn't have to be much, because hardly anyone will probably ever look down there to see what you did. But what we're doing is we're just creating two sides of the jaw. And it's easier to do it here now before we glue the head onto the body. There, see how much better that looks? Alright, now I'm going to clean this up under here. So now comes the part of putting this head. I'm not going to do the mane. I might do the front, but I'm just eyeballing it now to see just about where I need to cut that neck off. But first, let's go ahead and do this. Now again, you want some nice flow to your mane hanging down the horse's head. Okay, don't have to be much, but we want to make it look good. You don't want to take too much off, because if you take too much off, then you're going to have to go over there and carve that eye. And we don't have time to do that. Make that one look like it curves down underneath the other one. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Like that. Now we just take our little gouge here and just kind of there, that's plenty. Okay, I will do the rest of the mane back behind here once we get the head mounted on to the body, which is what we're going to do right now. So what I want to do is I'm going to start, hope you can see what I'm doing here, I'm just kind of eyeballing it here. to make my first cut. Okay, I'm going to go over to the bandsaw and cut that off right there. Alright, that's my first cut there. The head is still too long, but I think I can take the rest of it down over on my disc set. It's going to be kind of noisy because I got my vacuum on. Alright, what I'm going to do now is sand this off perfectly smooth. Get it down to the level that I want it. Okay, that looks pretty good right there. So I'm going to stop. Now we're going to put this horse's head onto the body permanently. Now we've got us a real good joint here, perfectly sanded smooth on both pieces. And the grain is running up and down on both pieces, so this is going to be a good match. It's going to give us a real strong glue joint. So all we need is just a piece of 1/8 inch dowel to put these two things together. So what I'm going to do is right here on the horse, drill me a hole, and like we do joining arms and stuff, just color that, position it where we want it, which is about right there, give it a little twist, and there's our hole. So we'll just drill that hole. Like that. Do a test fit here. Just reaming those holes out a bit. That'll work, just like that. Looks pretty good. Pull those apart. Take my gouge and just scrape away that junk. Like that. Get you some good glue here. Don't use that white stuff. Get you some carpenter's glue. Fill that hole up and put a nice liberal amount around there. Fill that hole up. Go ahead and put my dowel in. Get in there. Squeeze them together to get a good match, like that. That looks good. Now I'm going to get me a wet brush and I'm going to wipe off the excess. There you go, I've wiped off the excess. Now look at the top a minute. See how my horse head goes off at an angle? Don't worry about that. Horse heads go off at an angle all the time, so it's perfectly natural. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just hold my thumb there, come around the forehead of that horse, wrap it back around his butt back there, come back around the forehead like that, back around his butt back there like that. We want to get this glue joint good and held in place. And it looks like it's a good match all around. So I'll just continue wrapping. Use up my rubber band here. Stick that under there. And I'm going to set this aside until it dries. For gluing up odd things, boy, you cannot beat an old piece of inner tube. It just works great. So anyway, we'll set this aside to dry, and tomorrow we'll continue on this thing, hopefully.